Mic check, camera check. Okay, so we are back with another live stream, and today's topic is about hemodynamic disorders. So let's begin, guys. I have been procrastinating a lot. This is the last day that I am procrastinating. Okay, from this day I will improve. So hemodynamic disorders. So steps of hemostasis. Okay, one sec. I'll make a document out of this. Don't say word WORD word. Where is it? Dang it. Hemodynamic disorders. So guys, this topic is very large. So I will divide it into four sections. Okay. Four sections. So let's begin. So, what are the steps of hemostasis? So first is the vascular spasm. Okay, whenever there is vessel injury, vascular spasm first occurs, then platelet blood formation occurs, and then blood clotting occurs. So, steps of hemostasis. Wait one sec. Vascular spasm, then um, then platelet blood formation. Platelet. Okay, and the blood clotting. Blood clotting. Okay. Then, hmm, so thrombosis. Thrombosis is the process of formation of solid mass in circulation from the constituents of flowing blood. The mass itself is called the thrombus. Okay. It is the process of formation of solid mass in circulation from the constituents of flowing blood. Okay. Hemostatic plaques are the blood clots formed in healthy individuals at the site of bleeding, example in injury to blood vessels. Hemostatic plaques are useful as they stop the escape of blood and plasma, whereas thrombi developing in unruptured cardiovascular system may be life-threatening by causing one of the following harmful effects. Okay. Ischemic injury, thrombi may decrease or stop the blood supply to an organ or tissue and cause ischemia, which may result in infarction. And second is the thromboembolism. The thrombus may be carried along in the bloodstream as embolus to lodge in a distant vessel. So, what is thrombosis? Thrombosis. Formation of solid mass from blood constituents in a normal in a normal blood vessel. So hemostatic plugs are the blood clot formed in healthy individuals at the site of bleeding. Okay. Mm, hemostatic plugs. Hemostatic are in healthy individuals and at the site of bleeding. At the site of bleeding. Okay. Thrombus is formed. Is formed example in injured blood vessel. In injured blood which is formed in and which is formed in the unruptured cardiovascular system. Formed in unruptured cardiovascular system can be life threatening by two conditions. First is the ischemic injury, ischemic injury, and second one is the thromboembolism. Thromboembolism. Second is the thrombo, thrombo. Now, Virchow's triad. Virchow described three primary events which predispose to thrombus formation. Virchow's triad: endothelial injury, hypercoagulability of blood, and altered blood flow. Virchow's triad. Now, Virchow's triad. Factors that predispose to thrombus formation. To thrombus formation. Opacity, endothelial injury. Second is the hypercoagulability. Hypercoagulability. And third one is the altered blood flow. Altered. Okay. So role of coagulation system. Coagulation mechanism is the conversion of plasma fibrinogen into solid mass of fibrin. Okay. Intrinsic blood pathway, the extrinsic tissue pathway, and the common pathway leading to formation of fibrin polymers. In the intrinsic pathway, contact with abnormal surface leads to activation of factor 12 and sequential interaction of factor 9 to this. Okay, 11, 9, and 7, and finally factors 10. Okay, so first is 12, 12, then 11, then 9 and 7. 12, 11, 9, 7. Okay, so intrinsic pathway, coagulation, cascade. We have two pathways to intrinsic and extrinsic. Extrinsic is activated by activation of factor 12, okay, then 11, then 9, then 7, and finally 10. Okay. Okay. Huh. Calcium ions factor. Okay. Finally 10 and activation of calcium ions और क्या है and platelet factor. Okay. Now we're talking about the intrinsic pathway. Uh, Array. Sorry. Okay. So whatever I said till now, it was for the intrinsic pathway. Okay, not extrinsic. It was for the intrinsic. Intrinsic के लिए भी जो दी intrinsic IN. Hmm. And extrinsic Activated by cone. Tissue damage results in the release of tissue factors of or thermoplastin. Tissue damage. Okay. Tissue factor on interaction with factor 7 activates factor 10. Okay. ठीक है. Tissue damage and release of tissue factor, or we can say thromboplastin, thromboplastin, and then activates factor 7 and 10 and T. The common pathway begins with where both intrinsic and extrinsic pathways converge to activate factors 10, which forms a complex with the factor 5A and platelet factor 3 in the presence of calcium ions. This complex activates prothrombin factor 2 to thrombin factor 2A, which in turn converts fibrinogen into to fibrin. Prothrombin to thrombin. Okay. T. Calcium ions is also a factor 4. 13. ठीक. Regulation of coagulation system. The blood is kept in fluid state normally, and the coagulation system is kept in check by controlling mechanisms. These are under protease inhibitor. These act on coagulation factors so as to oppose the formation of thrombin. Example: antithrombin 3, protein C, C1 inactivator alpha and alpha 1 antitrypsin, and alpha 2 macroglobulin. Okay. Regulation of coagulation system. Protein C. C1 inactivator. C1 inactivator. Inactivator. उसके बाद alpha 1 antitrypsin. Alpha 1. um, Globulin. Fibrinolytic system. Plasmin or potent fibrinolytic enzyme. Okay. So thrombin, plasmin, and hmm, thrombin, fibrin. Okay. So thrombin and fibrin are they are in promotion of clot, like they form the clot. Okay. And plasmin is the factor which opposes the clot formation, like it dissolves the fibrin. Fibrin is basically the clot. Okay. So plasmin destroys it. Fibrinolytic enzyme is formed by the activation of a plasminogen activator on plasminogen present in the normal plasma. Two types of plasminogen activators are identified. Tissue type plasminogen derived from endothelial cells and leukocytes. Urokinase like plasminogen activator present in plasma. Plasmin so formed acts on fibrin to destroy the clot and produces fibrin. Fibrin splits produce FSP, fibronectin. Example is uh, the plasminogen activator. Activates plasmin and causes resolution of fibrin clot. Okay, that is fibrinolysis. There are two types of plasminogen activators. Two types of plasminogen activators. Okay. Functions of endothelial cell. This is very important. So first is the matrix products: fibrin, actin, laminin, collagen, proteoglycans, proteases, antithrombotic factors, prostacyclin, thrombomodulin, antithrombin, plasminogen activator, and heparin. Procoagulant factors: 1. Bilirubin factor, thromboxane 2, thromboplastin factor 5, platelet activating factor, and plasminogen activator inhibitor. Growth factor: insulin like growth factor, transforming growth factor, and colony stimulating factor. Vasoconstricting factors: angiotensin converting enzyme, thromboxane A2, leukotrienes, free radicals, and endothelins. Vasodilator factors: nitric oxide, prostacyclin, and inflammatory mediators like interleukin 1, 6, and leukotrienes and MSC2. Lipid metabolism: LDL receptor, lipoprotein lipase. Okay. So and endothelium has the following function. It protects the following flowing blood from the and thrombogenic influence of the subendothelium. It elaborates a few antithrombotic factors, thrombosis inhibitor factors. Example: heparin-like substance which accelerate the action of antithrombin 3 and inactivate some other clotting factors. Thrombomodulin acts indirectly. It binds to thrombin, thereby modifying the substrate therefore modifying the substrate specificity of thrombin, so that instead of cleaving fibrinogen, it instead cleaves and activates protein C and anticoagulant. Activated protein C inhibits clotting by cleaving and inactivating to procoagulant factor 5A and 7A and 8A, sorry, 8A. It requires a cofactor of protein S, which is also synthesized by endothelial cells. Okay, so we have antithrombotic factors, the factors which are against thrombosis. They don't allow the thrombosis to occur. Antithrombotic factors. Okay, so these are the heparin-like substance and thrombodyl. Heparin-like substance accelerates the action of the antithrombin and which activates some other clotting factors, and thrombomodulin, it acts indirectly. It binds to thrombin. It changes the specificity of the thrombin towards the the normal function of thrombin is to cleave the fibrinogen into fibrin. Okay, so, but when this thrombomodulin binds to the this uh, thrombin, then it changes the reactivity of the thrombin. So instead of cleaving fibrinogen, it instead cleaves and activates protein C. Okay. Now protein C, it is also antithrombotic factor produced by the endothelial cells, huh, and it also inactivates two procoagulant factor 5A and factor 8A, and it requires protein A, which is also synthesized by the endothelial cells. So release inhibitors of platelet aggregation, such as adipase and PGI2 or prostacyclin. Okay. Tissue factor path Tissue factor pathway inhibitor TFPI directly inhibit tissue factor and factor 7A complex and factor 10A. Endothelial cell synthesize tissue plasminogen activator, a protease that cleaves plasminogen into G. Okay. So functions of endothelial cells. Okay. Well, we should learn this. So antithrombotic factors, the prostacyclin, thrombomodulin, antithrombin, and plasminogen activator and heparin. Okay. And protein C also. Okay. Procoagulant factors are one Willebrand factor. Okay. Wow. Wow. Dobara. So and antithrombotic factors are the factor. Antithrombin 3, this thrombomodulin, then then heparin, prostacyclin, and plasminogen activator. Okay. See, procoagulant factors are one Willebrand factor, thromboxane A2, then this tissue plasminogen activator inhibitor, and then we have thromboplastin factor 5 and platelet activating factor. Hmm. Copies दोबारा. So we have the anti thrombotic factors. These are the uh, prostacyclin, thrombomodulin, antithrombin, protein C, and plasminogen plasminogen activator and heparin. Okay. And procoagulant factors, we have one Willebrand factor, thromboplastin. Okay, thromboxane A2 factor 5, then platelet activin plus. Okay, so in antithrombotic factors we have five factors, and in the procoagulant factors we have six factors, six substances which promote the coagulation. Hmm. So thrombomodulin is a anticoagulant. Thrombomodulin is anticoagulant. Thromboplastin is procoagulant. Procoagulant. Okay. One Willebrand factor that causes adherence of platelet to the subendothelium. VWF is held fast to the extracellular matrix through interaction with collagen, and also binds tightly to GP1B, a glycoprotein found on the surface of platelet. These interactions allow the VWF to act as a sort of a molecular glue that binds platelet tightly to then to what is this? TNUDED denuded vessel walls. Okay. Platelet activating factor, which is activator and aggregator of platelets. Okay. So activation of clotting factor in response to cytokines, TNF, and interleukin 1, or bacterial products including endotoxins and cells produce tissue factor. The major in vivo activator of coagulation. Tissue factor इसको भी बोलते हैं ना, तो हम्म सही है. Okay. So thermoplastin is also it is called as tissue factor. Tissue factor. Okay. So the major in vivo activator of coagulation and down regulate the expression of thrombomodulin is a antithrombotic. Okay, antithrombotic. Activated endothelial cells also bind coagulation factor 9A and 10A, which augment the catalytic activities of these factors. Antithrombotic effects. Okay. Anti-fibrinolytic. Okay. Oh, okay. So activity endothelial cells secrete plasminogen activity inhibitors. Okay. Which limit fibrinolysis and thereby favor thrombosis. Platelets. So platelets are nucleate cell fragments shed from into the bloodstream by megakaryocytes. They play a critical role in normal hemostasis by forming a hemostatic plug that seals vascular defects, and by providing a surface that recruits and concentrates activated coagulation factors. Platelet function depends on several integrin family glycoprotein receptors, quantitative cytosine, and two types of cytoplasmic granules. Alpha granules, which express the adhesion molecule P-selectin on their membranes and contain fibronectin factor 5 and factor 8, factor platelet factor 4, a heparin binding chemokine, platelet derived growth factor PDGF, what the fuck and transforming growth factor beta. So after vascular injury, platelet encounter ECM constituents, collagen is most important, and adhesive glycoproteins such as VDFNS, one bilirubin factor. So this sets in motion a series of events that lead to platelet adhesion, platelet platelet activation, and platelet aggregation. So, first is the platelet adhesion. Platelet adhesion initiates clot formation and depends on VWF and platelet glycoprotein GP1B. Under shear stress, examine inflowing blood. VWF undergoes a conformation change, assuming an end extended shape that allows it to bind simultaneously to collagen in the ACM and to blood. Okay, so this VWF acts as a glue, which on one hand you know it holds platelets, and on another side it holds the subendothelial tissue. See, so platelet activation. Platelet adhesion leads to an irreversible shape change. Okay, and secretion process termed platelet activation. Calcium and ADP are especially important in subsequent events since calcium is required by several coagulation factors, and ADP is a potent stimulator activator of resting platelets. Activated platelets also synthesize thromboxane A2, a prostaglandin that activates additional nearby platelets, and that also has an important role in platelet aggregation. Thromboxane A2 produced by activated platelets has pro- prothrombotic, prothrombotic properties, stimulating activation of new platelets as well as increasing platelet aggregation. Arachidonic acid cyclooxygenase endoperoxides PGG2 and PGH2. So thromboxane synthetase, thromboxane 2 and thromboxane B2 platelets, and prostacyclin synthesis, prostacyclin PGI2 and 6-keto PGF1 alpha endothelial cells. So thromboxane A2 is a type of thromboxane that is produced by platelets during hemostasis and has a prothrombotic properties. It stimulates activation of new platelets as well as increases platelet aggregation. This is achieved by activating the thromboxane receptor, which results in a platelet shape change inside out, activation of integrins, and degranulation. Circulating fibrinogen binds these receptors on adjacent platelets, further strength- further strengthening the clot. Thromboxane A2 is also known as a vasoconstrictor and is especially important during tissue injury and inflammation. Receptors that mediate TXA2, that is thromboxane A2, acts in the thromboxane A2 receptors. Now, platelet endothelial activation interactions. So, the interplay of platelets and endothelium has a profound impact on blood formation. For example, PGI2 prostaglandin PGI2 synthesized by normal endothelium is a vasodilator and inhibits platelet aggregation, whereas TXA2 synthesized by activated platelets is a potent vasoconstrictor. Okay. So the balance between opposing effects of PGI2 and TXA2 varies. In normal vessels, PGI2 effect dominates. Okay. Whereas endothelial injury decreases PGI2 production and promotes platelet aggregation and TXA2 production. During activation, platelets undergo a change in shape from smooth discs to spheres with numerous long, spiky membrane extensions, as well as more subtle changes in the makeup of their plasma membranes. The shape change enhance subsequent aggregation and increase the surface area available for interaction with the coagulation factors. The subtle membrane changes include all the increase in in the surface extension of a negatively charged phospholipid which provide binding site for both calcium and coagulation factors, and a conformation change in platelet GB2B and GB3A that permits it to bind fibrinogen. Now platelet aggregation पहले क्या था platelet adhesion, platelet activation, and platelet aggregation. Now we are okay. So platelet aggregation. So platelet aggregation follows platelet adhesion and activation and is stimulated by some of the same factors that induce platelet activations like TXA thromboxane 2, which is produced by the activated platelets. Aggregation is promoted by bridging interaction between fibrinogen and GB2B and or 3A receptors on adjacent platelets. The importance of this interaction is emphasized by a rare inherited deficiency of GB2B and GB3A, Glasman thrombosthenia, which is linked with bleeding and inability of platelet to aggregate. Okay. ठीक. Concurrent activation of coagulation cascade generates thrombin, which stabilizes the platelet plug through two mechanisms. Concurrent thrombin activates the platelet surface receptor protease activated receptor PAR, which in concert with ADP and TXA2 further enhances platelet aggregation. Thrombin converts fibrinogen to fibrin within the vicinity of plug, cementing the platelet plug in place. Thrombin converts fibrinogen to fibrin within the vicinity of the plug, cementing the platelet plug in place. Red cells and leukocytes are also found in the hemostatic blood. Leukocytes adhere to platelet by means of a P-slatin and to the enzyme by various adhesion molecules. They contribute to the inflammatory response that accompanies thrombosis. Thrombin also promotes inflammation. See, aspirin and an irreversible cyclooxygenase inhibitor in lowering the risk of coronary thrombosis resides in its ability to permanently block TXA2 production by platelets in a manner similar to that of BGR and G. Nitric oxide acts as a vasodilator and inhibitor of and an inhibitor of platelet aggregation. See. Okay, guys, so next we will discuss later. My head is spinning a lot. I can't. Bye. Bye.